Hey everyone, welcome to the Get the Bag podcast. I am your host, Gladia, and today we have a very exciting episode for you. We have a really special guest. We had kind of do some rescheduling, but we're able to get it done. And what's really special is, we've transitioned, Tim and I, who's not on the call, but transitioned to working more commercial deals as part of our boutique. And so it's perfect because a lot of the guests that we'll be bringing on are either in some form of commercial space, whether it's multifamily, industrial development, you name it. So I'm really excited to bring on our following guest. But before I get all into that, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're very intentional with the episodes we throw on, but it's all about adding value and helping each other grow. So without further ado, for today's episode, we're welcoming Steven Weinstock. Hope I said that right. Should have probably asked before. He's the founder and CEO of Capital LLC. And he's revolutionized the real estate investment landscape by raising over 17 million from private investors, focusing on multifamily apartment complexes. Under his leadership, Capital has successfully acquired and managed properties across Kentucky and Ohio, ensuring passive income opportunities for investors. Steven is not only a seasoned investor, but also a thought leader, educator, and author in the field. Get ready to dive into his approach, his strategies that he utilizes, and bringing everybody together and obviously making money along the way. Steven, welcome to the Get the Bag podcast. What's going on?
I'm happy to be here. Wow, that's quite the intro. Thank you very much.
You gave me some good information, so.
And you definitely pronounced my name perfectly, so thank you very much.
Perfect. I probably should have asked, but hey, I kind of go. And do you go by Steve or Steven?
Steven.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, I did want to start off because you've been in the industry for quite some time. Have you always been into real estate, or like what sort of motivated you to enter in the real estate investment industry?
So I've been in real estate just about my entire adult career. Throughout, I've dabbled in other fields, but it's always been real estate. It's always led me back to real estate. I've always owned real estate since my low 20s. So it's about 25 years now, and real estate is the best asset class out there. And the different stuff I've done over the years has changed significantly. But yeah, I've always loved real estate.
That's phenomenal. I mean, we've had a few guests on here that were wise enough, in your 20s, to start investing. But a lot of people, that you hear, it's like, oh, well, I kind of stumbled upon it after X amount of careers and such. Is it something that maybe got passed down through family, or it was just you kind of knew going into your adulthood, I'm going to invest in real estate, like you kind of had a plan set?
Got it. Yes. So my family definitely had a big impact on me getting into real estate. But that being said, my family was not into real estate, not at all. However, it was spoken about a lot. I got to see other people in the community who were real estate people, all types of real estate, guys who own buildings and guys who just owned, the house around the corner from where they lived. So I was always fascinated with real estate. My approach has shifted over the years, but I always wanted to be an owner of real estate.
I love that. And I want to touch upon the strategies that you mentioned, because you've probably seen it all. And now in this market cycle that we're in, I'm curious to hear your insights. How has that changed, and how have you pivoted? I'm sure you pivoted plenty of times, but specifically with multifamily, have you always been within that asset class, or did you kind of jump around once you got into real estate?
So I guess I don't know if I jumped around, but I definitely jumped in a certain direction. Started out with single family homes, like a lot of people do. It's just easier to get into, especially if you have no knowledge at all. It really gets you in the door. Teaches you a lot. Typically, you can manage it yourself, so it teaches you to deal with all that comes with property management. but yeah, no, I definitely started in that class for many years. Took a while to pivot to some larger properties. As far as the multifamily, doing that about 7 years or so. Um, Locally in New Jersey, which is right nearby, and
Mhm.
like you mentioned in the intro, uh, we own and self-manage property in the Cleveland suburbs and in Louisville, Kentucky.
That's great, and that's something that again, I think people underestimate. People think, oh, I have to have everything figured out, and sometimes it's okay to take those steps, right? Like coming from single family. I think these last couple of years, I think since COVID, in terms of knowledge, like I mean, LinkedIn obviously is where we connected, but um, there's so much more insights now where people can literally just jumpstart in a way, right, through the right mentorship and coaching. But when you made that switch in multifamily, did you kind of, I mean, you already obviously had the insights, the knowledge. Talk about the strategies you used then. Were you already working with GPs and LPs? Like what was that like versus where you're at right now?
Sure. So it took me, a while. I've been thinking about multifamily for many, many years. Uh, Most of the time, if I chalk it up, I just didn't have the guts to really do it. But at the time, lots of excuses and lots of valid reasons, even. Um, but like you said, I was in the business for quite some time. Dealt with a lot of people, not necessarily investors, but just a lot of different owners, and I always had people ask me about real estate. And when I decided to pivot to some larger properties, and I knew that raising capital would be an integral part of that process, I had a small network of people that over the years were always asking about either investing or getting involved. So I was able to uh, raise the equity, and it was tough. It was tough for me to make those phone calls. It was hard to ask. I had to stumble on the words and figure out different ways to present it until I perfected it, if you call it perfection. But yeah, so the first deal the first larger deal that was out of my comfort zone, I raised capital from what they call family and friends. Mostly it was friends and
Mhm.
people I've bumped into or people who knew I was involved. And there's always a lot of people that want to get involved in real estate somehow, and I was able to bring them along. I wanted to do multifamily, like I said, for a long time, and it was limited beliefs
Mhm.
that kept me away. But I'm happy I made the transition. I'm not upset that I focused on smaller assets all those years. Not at all. I did well. I made some money, support my family.
Mhm.
Uh, but in hindsight, if I could Monday morning quarterback, yes, I would have delved right into multifamily day one somehow.
I love it, but you kind of, I always see, obviously everything happens for a reason, and I mean, we could always go back, right, and say, oh, if only I purchased more properties after 2008 or after that crash, right, or you know, just things like that. But I think you hit it spot, you were spot on in mentioning the limited beliefs, because that's a huge, people see multifamily, and obviously there's different levels, right? If we're talking, I mean, technically from 5 all the way up to, thousands of doors. But people see multifamily and get almost intimidated by it, especially if you're coming from the residential world, and they just convince themselves like, no, that's not for me. I have to speak a certain language, which yes, you have to understand particular terms, right, to be able to put words together and form a conversation with a lot more savvy investors or owners, right? But even then, you still conquer through that all, and possibly so many people don't ever get through that. And so I think that's really cool that you do that, because even for me, transitioning to commercial and focusing more on multifamily as well was a big part too. And I think at first you try to convince yourself of like, am I doing that? Like I probably sound really silly, or people won't like you. But I think it's, people work with people that they like, and it's the relationships that you build. If anything I've learned, whether it's multifamily or any commercial, and anywhere really in the real estate industry. It's the relationships that you build through networking. What was that like? How long did it take? Because I mean, 17 million, that's a lot of money, right? To have raised. Talk about how once you kind of grasp it, what different strategies you used to be able to raise capital to now, like, to get to the point where you're at right now.
Yeah, so like I said, when I started, it was, going to my small network of people. And I'll tell you, it's still a learning process because even as I continue to raise money for new deals that I'm doing, the sophistication of the investors that I'm dealing with, is growing. So
Sure.
while my first few deals, I had what I call mom and pop investors, and trust me, they're great.
You're right.
They weren't really asking certain questions. It was more of, they're investing in me, and I guess whatever it said on the paper, they care about, but it was more about me. As I speak to larger investors, and sometimes they represent the fund, or they raise millions of dollars on their end, and then they deploy it. So that's that's a learning process. I'm still learning new words every time I speak
Right.
to these guys. But it just there's a lot of referrals, I have a lot of people reaching out to me. It doesn't always turn into something, but I do have a lot of people reaching out to me, asking me what am I working on? Do I need capital? And they want to talk, and sometimes those guys pan out, sometimes it doesn't. But at this point, I do have a lot of people reaching out to me. I'm active on LinkedIn. I wish I was a little more active on Instagram. My kids always tell me Instagram, but I don't know. I just haven't really figured it out. I wish I would have started earlier with social media. It does really help a lot. It does
Mhm.
give me some credibility, which does help.
Sure.
Um, I have participated on some panels at some conferences. I'm not sure when this episode's coming out, but in a couple of weeks I'll be in Denver for a conference,
Oh, nice.
August 21st, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I'll be moderating a panel over there, actually.
Nice.
Um, but all that exposure helps me with the capital raise. It helps me with dealing even with the bank or the lender. They'll do a Google search. It's not when you're buying a primary home, it's all about the FICO score and some tax
Right.
returns. But when you're dealing with some of these lenders or funds, they do Google you. So
Right.
having some good content out there does help. It's not an overnight process. Lots of trial and error on my part. Um, but those errors are valuable. It's like
Lessons, right?
it's like a college education. If I could, I've lost money on some deals, or I've had some deposits go haywire. But I guess it's cheaper than a Yale education.
Right, right. I like that approach because I think those real life lessons are truly those lessons that you take from you learn so much more. You learn so much quicker. At least for me, I learn better if I'm thrown in the fire kind of thing, and then I'm
A
taught
hundred
to figure
percent,
it out.
a
Right.
hundred, a hundred
Besides
percent.
along, and of course, if you have mentorship and coaching along the way, I mean that definitely helps. But when your back is against the wall, like you figure it out, you find a way, and so even through the challenges, whether you're a beginner or starting out, that's something that will always, that you kind of have to have that mindset when it comes to it. Um,
Yeah, no, I jumped into the fire many times over the years. Hopefully I don't get too burnt. I do have a good network. I have this WhatsApp chat group that I'm on, and it has, I would say, about 1,000 real estate professionals. I've been on it for, I don't know, about 5 years,
oh
and
wow.
I've seen it grow. When I got on there, I think it was 200 people, and it's just amazing the questions that are asked. And quick, I need an architect in St. Louis, and three guys will answer. Or just
Mm.
a lot of good questions and answers, and just a great you know place to network.
Yeah, I think a community is so huge. That's one of the things starting out was big for me because especially a community that's nationwide. So if it's like, hey, I have a question, or like you mentioned, like I need this or that, I need boots on the ground, or I need an inspector, or I need a contractor, there's always somebody that knows somebody, right? And so it's, yes, it's an investment in some cases, and I think it's worth it because otherwise you're figuring out. I think you learn how to collaborate with other people. You come out winning on the other side, always.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more information out there. You just have to know how to, get to it or who to ask. I remember when I started 2001. Obviously, there was really nothing online, but I knew like two or three guys who owned, you know, 100 single family homes, and another guy that owned 50 or so. And I was just able to ask them questions. Anytime something happened, I could give them a call, and
Mhm.
they were great. And it's your network, and it doesn't have to be somebody that just transactions. I have people who their knowledge has made me money or saved me tons of money, and I never bought and sold anything from them. It's just
Right.
just the back and forth, and we're both adding value to each other. And definitely a network is it's not what you know, it's who you know. So
That's so huge, Stephen, because it's adding value at the end of the day. And I think sometimes some people come in a little entitled as far as like, oh well, I know this person, and or whatever the case may be. And so I think just always being of service and coming to the group or whatever with, hey, how can I add value, especially if you're starting out. There's always, you're either I feel like you're either using time or money, right, to in order to like add value. So if you have the time, you should be out there reaching out to people, seeing where you can help them out, and being proactive too, because you never know who's watching. Somebody's always watching. Like, we talked about social media. um, a lot of people sometimes complain about their views, especially on Instagram or maybe LinkedIn, but there's always somebody at the right time where they need you. They're going to reach out to you. So it's all timing too. So I love that you mentioned that on adding value. I wanted to switch gears and talk about the deals that you're working on. Talk to us about what you have going on. What are some challenges you're experiencing right now, especially with the market, and like kind of like where you see it going, especially with the election year coming up. I've spoken to a lot of multifamily operators, owners, and they're kind of hesitant on making any moves for right now until they see how the election pans out. How's it going on your end?
so there's definitely some hesitating. I don't know if it's the election, but I guess more of the rates, and
Sure.
seeing how things pan out. I did try to buy something a couple of months ago that fell through. Um, it fell through mostly because the bank, I guess at the last minute, they tightened some of their restrictions and some stuff with
Mm,
property condition reports, and basically the proceeds from the loan would have been significantly less. And I thought about maybe trying to raise the extra capital from the investors, um, but it was just, it was taking a long time to begin with, and we felt, just to back out, and we ended up backing out. It cost us some time and effort,
hmm.
but we backed out. I still like the deal, and maybe we'll try to make it work.
Right.
Um, I do see a lot of deals for sale that are not priced well, meaning these are guys who have to get out of the property because they have a loan coming due, or
Right.
they're on a bridge loan that's choking them, and maybe they haven't hit reality yet to lower it in order to sell it. They're trying to still maybe break even and not wipe out some of their investors. So we are seeing some of that. Um, I am working on a refinance right now. This is a
Mm,
property I bought, I don't know, about 4 years ago. Um, the loan is coming due. I still have another year or so. So I'm working on a refinance. But with this, we're going to do what's called agency debt. We're going to take a Freddie Mac loan.
hmm.
And the rates aren't that bad. Just throughout the last few weeks, during the paperwork and the back and forth, uh, the broker lender would tell me, oh, it went down, 5 basis points or whatever. So it did trickle down a little. I do have a partner with me, Michael Eisner. He's not here now, but
Mhm.
he's the E in We Capital. But he does he did present to me, should we wait on this for after the election?
Mm.
It's still like a back and forth. I'm more of let's just do it, and it's a good deal. The refinance works. We can get the capital back to the investors, which is always the best
Right.
a home run. And I don't want to wait 4 months or 3 months, and maybe I'll get disappointed one way or the next. So
Right.
I think we're plugging through with the refinance as is. Um, the market is tough. The market's tough. But there's always a deal, and if you're not an institution and
People are
you're
still
not just
closing deals.
if you're not an institution and you're not just gobbling up deals like on a conveyor belt, if you do the work, you could find the one or two that that work out, and that's all I need is one or two here and there. I don't need one deal a month. I would
Right.
like to, but realistically, I'm not Blackstone. I'm not a fund. I'm not an institution where I'm just gobbling up deals. So I'm able to pick and
Mm.
choose. I could find a deal that has a good story behind it. I love deals that the owners owned it for 10, 12, 15 years. I love those deals the most. Um, I don't want to buy it off an institution that's owned it for 2 years. Not that I can't make money on that. I just probably have to be more talented to make money on that.
Sure.
But if you have somebody who's owned it 15 years, they leave some meat on the bone. Maybe they're happy with their rents a little lower than market because they bought it, 15 years ago, and they have either no debt or barely any debt on it, and
Right.
they're just making it easier for the next guy to buy it off them. So I really like those deals. It's one of the first questions I ask when someone brings me a deal. I say, how long have they owned it? So if I hear they own it 18 months, it's possible it's a good deal. But if I hear they own it 12 years, send it to me.
You're all over it.
I'm all over it. I'm all over it. I want to make it work when the guy owns it that long. He
Right.
has equity in it. He could lower the price. He could come in on the deal. I've had sellers come in on the deal,
Right.
take some of their proceeds and plow it back into the deal. And I like that a lot. It gives me an opportunity to be in business with the original owner, and they have tons of knowledge on the property.
I think you touch upon so many good points in terms of how you structure it, especially with more mom and pop owners, kind of like what you're talking about, who've owned it like 15 plus years. They're not as attached in terms of like maybe a residential owner, but there's still some sentimentals, maybe like, oh, this was my first, multifamily, or hey, this was, whatever time. They are more flexible. You can kind of really have a conversation. It's not as technical, I've found too. I mean, depends on the owner. But you're able to kind of work out some solutions like a seller finance. Maybe they're more open to that. And one thing that you mentioned too is, hey, they maybe want to be brought on the deal. And that's something that's not really talked about a lot, at least out in the open, of like sellers,
Sure.
foregoing a specific proceeds to that go towards the deal. And this also applies to brokers, financial or consultants. They bypass their fee, and it's like, hey, instead of give me your fee, like I want to buy into the deal. That's a great way without really putting your own capital right up front. So that's why I love commercial or multifamily in general, is like, because it's somebody told me it's a wild west in terms of how you structure it, because there's really no rules per se. I mean, I'm sure there's sneaky ways, but in terms of how you can structure it, you can get really flexible. And then one other thing that you touched upon as well is, hey, I'm cool with doing a couple deals a year. And I think that's the difference too between residential as well, as you're not going to get the returns that you would in a multifamily property. You would need a certain number, right, of residential properties to equal out to that. And so a lot of people talk about quality versus quantity. I'll take the 2 deals a year if it means I'm going to get X amount of returns, right? And so I think that's also something important for people that aren't really familiar with the commercial space or multifamily, is like, you don't need to crunch out so many deals. You can take your time. People don't even talk about like how long it takes for a deal to pan out, like the due diligence period, like depending on the number of doors, like this can take some time. And so it's you're very intentional with the deals that you work is what I found.
Definitely, definitely. And just to go back, bringing a seller into a deal. Since my early days when I was buying, single families and three families and all that, I used to use seller financing as a big tool. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I didn't start out with money. I didn't have family money to buy, and I was always putting down as little as possible for the down payments back then. And I used to seek out seller financing deals. I would call up 10 for sale by owners and see which one would work with me, and then from there I would see if this property can work. So seller
Yeah.
financing has been a huge tool for me. Traditionally, as far as an owner holding a first position, holding a second position, and I've taken that with me to the multifamily space. That when I'm dealing with an owner, I want somehow their capital, part of their capital, to be in this deal. Whether it means I need to raise less from outside investors,
Right.
whether it means I can get more favorable terms with a lower loan from the bank. This way I know also they believe in the property if they're keeping some money into it, and it leads to even more because they'll maybe invest with me on the next deal, and I've had that before, or they'll reach out to me when they have something else for sale, and we could strike up a deal. So using the seller as a worthy partner is definitely something. I know a lot of people spar with sellers. They back and forth, and they're taking every inch, or they who's to say who's right or wrong, but having the seller on your side is a very good move, and especially if you can get some of their capital into your deals.
Right. I always say collaboration over competition any day. Everyone should walk away feeling like it was a win-win across all, the entire board. So I'm with you on that. And that's so key. Um, just a couple questions. You mentioned with the deals, do you mostly get your deals from brokers, or do you do any marketing at all? How do you source your deals?
So the way I find deals itself to buy, no. So I'm not really sourcing it on my own. I'm not really marketing on my own specifically. But like I said, I do have a big network. So I do have, obviously, a lot of brokers will reach out to me. So I do have a lot of that. I do have a lot of people who are brokers, but not official brokers. Maybe they know
Yeah.
off-market deals, or they go around, assembling deals, or they hear about a deal in Kentucky. Oh, I know a guy in Kentucky. Okay, let's do it. Oh, okay, Ohio. So I have a lot of those guys, and these are guys who I've spoken to and dealt with in the past. Either we closed the deal or we didn't. But they're sending me stuff. They're texting me. I know who they are. It's not spam email coming.
Right.
And people know that I'm interested in certain deals. I'll have my mortgage broker, if one of his clients are looking to sell a deal, he'll reach out to me. So a lot of networking is what gets me the deals. And yes, I don't actually market sourcing for deals.
Right.
But again, I'm not looking to buy 12 deals, 15 deals a year. I'm
Right.
fine with a few, and maybe one day.
Well, whatever's working, it doesn't need fixing, right? But I love that because I've found multifamily commercial, it's all relationship based. So if you're really cool with brokers or I guess off market consultants, which is what we do, we don't hold our license, which we're kind of contemplative getting our agent license just to kind of have the flexibility there, not refer it out to a broker agent. But it's all relationships and understanding, hey, this is my buy box. If anything fits, and if you kind of have that relationship, and they like working with you, like I said, people that like you will want to continue working with you. So I think that's a big aspect of, if anything, focus on building relationships. If you're starting out, is go out to as many multifamily events. They're happening nationwide. Like join all the communities that have like hold multifamily developers or investors in it. I'm sure you can probably go on LinkedIn and find something. So
Yes. I go to quite a few events a year, and I'll tell you something that's something I would advise. And I didn't always do this. I learned this later on. That when I do get, like I said before, these spam email, these emails from brokers and this and that, I always respond. Meaning, I might not get back to
Mm,
them right away, but basically these guys, they're sending out hundreds of emails, and most of the time they're not getting a single response. A lot of
right.
the responses they get will be from total amateurs who are just wasting their time. So what I do is I try to respond to each one, even if it's something that I'm totally not interested in, and I'll give them a quick reason as to why this doesn't fit my buy box, or I'll just say
Mm,
something simple like, I'm not focusing on acquisitions right now. I'm dealing with managing my current portfolio, whatever it is, because when I respond to them, it tells them that I'm like a live one. So
yeah.
now either they will send me more stuff in the future, which is fine. But if I actually give them a valid reason, sometimes they'll come back to me in 2 months and say, oh, the buyer lowered his price. Does this work for you now? So it reminds them to get back to me when something favorable happens, and it just makes them still remember you to send out the deals in the future. So I would
I
definitely
love that.
respond to any of those types of emails you get.
Yeah, so everybody just swarm Steven's email and number. He'll try to get back to you. And no, I think that's something commendable because you'll have, I've reached out to investors and, I've gotten a mixed bag of where it's like, hey, I'm trying to help out and see where I can add value. But I understand because, you're getting swarmed, you're getting a ton of calls, texts, emails. So it can be overwhelming. So the fact that you take the time, and I'm sure not every one of them, but the fact that you do as many as you can, I think that speaks volumes in terms of your character. And people, again, are going to want to work with people like that gives them the time that they took, right, to reach out and send those emails or communication. So I love that. And I'm sure, that'll equal more deal flow at some point, right, for you. So I that's the number one thing, guys. If you do recall, is just holding your character at the end of the day and just being a good person. I think people want to work with you. So, Stephen, last question, or what do you want to leave the audience with, or if there's something you want to share about what you have coming up? Sounds like you have some deals, but yeah, for anybody tuning in, what do you want to leave the audience with?
Sure. First of all, I hope I added value to your
Oh,
listeners and to the people
amazing!
watching, and I had a fun time talking. I'm always looking for new deals to buy. I'm
Yes,
currently looking at a property. I don't really have the details really to share at this point,
sure.
but I could always be reached at LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You can see my name, Steven Weinstock, We Capital. There's a few Steven Weinstocks in the real estate space, so I guess try to match this face with the profile
Cooler one
picture.
right here.
um, I have a website, wecapitalx.com, wecapitalx.com. My email is Steven at wecapitalx.com. I do have a lot of my investors, a lot of other people that reach out to me and they want to find out all the details of how to structure an investment. I put out an ebook, it's free. With LP, GP, general partner, limited partner structures, and different structures of how it's distributed with the promote and waterfall and all that.
Mhm.
That could be, I think that's on my website. Definitely, it's on LinkedIn. Maybe you'll put a link to it on the
Yep.
show notes. I'm on Instagram. I don't remember the URL name, but maybe I gave it to you. I'm not sure. But if not, LinkedIn, that's where I'm at. Email, and please reach out to me if you want to speak, ask me any questions, even if it's not to invest with me. Any real estate questions, I'm always happy to do it. Ask me anything.
I love it. Yeah, I will make sure to put all the information in the show notes when we publish this. And remind me again, what markets are you currently buying in?
So I'm currently focused on buying in Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland suburbs,
Mhm.
and a big part of the state of New Jersey. So not all parts of New Jersey, but lots of New Jersey. So if you have something specific and you're watching, definitely reach out. I am invested in some other states, more of an LP, and less of an active role. Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Mississippi, um, and Georgia.
Mm.
But again, I'm not really active in those spots. So but I have some knowledge over there.
I love it. So if any of you guys have any opportunities in those specific markets, we can also add that in as well. Make sure to reach out to Steven, mostly on LinkedIn, but also provide the Instagram profile as well. Steven, thank you so much. That was fun. I learned a lot, great insights, especially talking about your experience and coming up. But hopefully, maybe it's something where we can do a deal together down the road, partner up, whatever the case may be. Thank you again.
I had a great time. Thank you.
All right. Catch you guys later. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure they reach out to Steven when you get the chance. Ask him whatever you want. He'll text you back, maybe email.